Stop there, boys. Yeah.
Thanks for following us on Short and Sweet RV Life. In this episode, you're going to see us go through the Chenal Air Museum in Louisiana and the top 5 things that we learned traveling the country with littles.
After 4 years in Texas, we hit the road to find some new adventures. Following a false start in Oklahoma, we were off to Dover with a stop over the holidays to see some family. We decided to try our Harvest Toast subscription for our first stop after leaving Cedar Hill State Park near Dallas. We found the Chenal Aviation and Military Museum in Louisiana.
Harvest Host is a yearly subscription service that allows users to search out and stay at different locations around the country for free. They encourage patronizing the business where you stayed as a way of supporting that business for letting you camp there for free. The locations vary from breweries and vineyards to farms and museums. The Chenal Museum was really cool. It had shore power for us to use, which makes boondocking so much easier when you don't have solar power or a generator.
That's the kamikaze trying to run into it.
What's that metal from?
That's real metal from a kamikaze that flew into the Kadashin. And that's deck plating, so that's part of the wood that the airplanes landed on. That's the metal from the bad guy's airplane.
You crashed into it? That's bad shit.
The museum is in Monroe, Louisiana, and has some unique pieces of history and even an area for the kids to touch and dress up in some old gear. The host was extremely nice and even gave us as much of a tour as she was able, as she was the only one working that morning and had to watch the front desk. After staying at our first Harvest Toast location, we set out again with stops in Tuscaloosa, Charlotte, and Fredericksburg. After some great memories, meeting up with some more family, and fixing a flat tire on the side of the highway, we finally arrived at our destination in Delaware. We made it to Dover! Oh man, that was a long trip, but it was a lot of fun. We had some interesting stops along the way. We had a lot of fun getting here, and we finally pulled in, stopped, and decided what we wanted to share with you guys is kind of the 5 things that we learned, kind of 5 big takeaways from our first cross-country trek. You want to take the first one?
So our first tip is find your groove. You'll see a lot of different families out there and on TV that travel in different ways. But you have to find what your groove is and what works for your family. Right now we have littles, and while we would really like to make quick jaunts, that is just not where we are. And we have to make sure that we accommodate our whole family to make the trip enjoyable.
Yeah, left with one certain plan, quickly figured out it wasn't going to work, had to change up what we were going to do and find something that worked for us, so that we could make it to our destination but still have fun along the way, still make some great memories, still enjoy what we were doing, and enjoy the freedom and the flexibility that living in a camper gives us.
Right. For us, we were able to extend our trip time. I know that may not be an option for some of the people watching. And so one of the things you could do is just pick your highlights, a few of the things that you would really, really hate to miss, and spend extra time in those places instead of making multiple stops that are just shorter.
Yeah, be flexible. You're going to be in different stages. Even on the same trip, you may be at different stages depending on how tired you are, how long the previous day was, what was going on. So once you find your groove, enjoy it, stick with it until it stops working for you, and then find your next groove.
Alright.
Start again.
Our number 2 tip is to have a general plan.
Absolutely. You have to have a general idea of what you're going to do, and it depends on what kind of a day it's going to be as to how specific your plan needs to be. We had certain stops we knew we wanted to make, and certain stops we hoped we wanted to make, depended on how the day went. And some of the awesome planning tools that we used to help us out a lot were Google Earth and the Motor Carriers Road Atlas.
This is a really great idea to look at when you have a larger rig like we do. We're at 41 feet, and so there are some areas that you can't go into, tunnels that you may not be able to go through, length and width restrictions, and it'll let you know where the tolls are. So it's a really good idea to do so you know what to expect. If you need to have cash on hand for tolls, that's a big thing, because towing a big rig, it can be $8 to $12 per toll visit. So you don't want to be caught unprepared.
And some of the tolls we ran into on our trip only took cash, and there was no way to get on or off because it was a bridge. So you were just stuck there counting change, hoping you had the $12 it took to be able to cross, because they wouldn't accept a ripped dollar bill.
Exactly. I'm usually the navigator while we're driving, and so when it's time for us to gas up, I usually pull up Google and go to the satellite view. That way I can see exactly how big their parking lots are and make sure that there's a clear way for us to get in and out of. Or if we're stopping to eat, finding a place to park may not be that easy.
Yeah, one of the other things we learned is when you get to a place, when you enter, if you know one of the entrances is good, try to go back to that same place to exit. Don't just assume since you're in a Walmart parking lot, they're designed with big rigs in mind, because you might find yourself having to back up or just trying to squeeze through a spot that's just too small for you to fit through. Our third tip is that don't let plans that don't work ruin your trip. There are times that everything is running smoothly and that plan you just made in tip 2 is working out great, and then a monkey wrench just gets thrown into the system. And having the ability to bounce back, the resiliency to just continue to enjoy what you're doing, can make the difference between a miserable trip for the family and an awesome memory.
When something happens, just take a breath. Take a breath and take your time and get a plan.
So as you may have noticed, our scenery changed a little bit from the last few tips, kind of in that whole theme of rolling with the punches and making things work. The kids lost their mind right around the time we were recording tip number 3, and so we took a pause, took a hiatus for a day or two to get out here and re-record these tips. So tip number 4.
It's how we feed our horde. As any parent knows, a hungry horde is a bad deal all the way around. So when we're traveling, I try to have lots of snacks. So no matter what happens, if you throw snacks at it, it's automatically not as bad.
So we go out the day before we're going to hit the road, we grab some snacks and we keep those in the car.
That also saves you money. Snacks from the grocery store are cheaper than snacks from the gas station.
Yep, and then we try to keep ice chest full of food that we can easily make, be it sandwiches or something along those lines. In our particular rig, we can't really get to the fridge when we're on the road without opening up the slides, so we found it a lot easier just to have an ice chest that we keep a meal or two in, so we can stop in at pretty rest stop, or whenever people get hungry, just pull off to the side and enjoy a meal that's a lot cheaper than buying fast food, I'll tell you that much, and honestly is more satisfying. For the dinners, you want to talk about the dinners?
Sure. I try to prep for success. Nobody likes to take time out of their vacation or their travel to prep a meal for the next day or the next morning. But man, being able to pull out some breakfast burritos and toss them to the kids in the car to get out of a campsite early in the morning is great. So take some of that time that you're traveling to prep for food. We also will do that for dinners. So on our travel days, we already have a complete meal ready for us, or an almost complete meal ready for us. So while he's out fixing everything on the outside of the rig, as soon as inside is ready, I'm inside and I'm making us a meal. So as soon as he's in, we all get to eat.
And another trick that if you weren't able to do that beforehand, you can always, about the time you hit a campsite, call and order some pizza, and usually about the time you finish setting up your camper, the pizza's showing up and everyone can sit down and eat. Tip number 5 is remember the whole point in this is having fun and making some memories, so don't sweat the small stuff. When something goes wrong, don't let it hold back your whole day. I mean, we're out here trying to find some snow and obviously there's not a lot around here, so we flexed and went to the actual ski resort where they had a bunch of snow that they made for us.
I think we've all been those parents that are stuck in this high stress environment and they're like, we're going to have fun while we're here.
And if you start sweating the small stuff and sweating all the little things in your vacation or in your trip that starts going wrong, then you're not going to enjoy the big stuff. And if you let those bad parts affect your attitude, then you won't have as many good, fond memories of what you were up to.
Exactly. And one of the major points of being in an RV is slowing life down. Taking moments like these to sit around the fireplace and enjoying life, enjoying time with each other. Your kids are still going to be your kids. Know their limitations. When you're traveling, your kids can have a meltdown at home because they're tired, or they can have a meltdown while you're out because they're tired. So take a breath, help them pull it together, and just try and enjoy that time together. Don't let that stop you.
Yeah, buddy? Yeah, I am talking about it. Yeah.